At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can finish the bachelor's degree you started in 19 months and under $19,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino. A meal isn't just about what's on your plate. It's about what you bring to the table. San Pellegrino believes the table is where the best of life happens. That's what makes gathering around it so rich and rewarding. And with their unique sparkling natural mineral water, San Pellegrino brings its best so you could bring yours.
Hello, you lovely learners, and welcome back to the British English Podcast. I'm Charlie, your host, your British English guide, your British mate with a microphone. Now, if you're preparing for the IELTS exam or just want to sound more natural when talking about everyday topics in English, then today's episode is going to be right up your street. We're jumping in to the IELTS speaking exam and looking at part 1, focusing on a super common topic that almost always shows up at some point in the test, which is hobbies and free time. It might be in the title already, so you don't really need the drum roll. But yes, we'll be focusing on hobbies and free time. So whether you're a stamp collector, a ukulele enthusiast, or just someone who enjoys a good nap, this one's for you. So let's get into it, shall we?
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay, courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for this day.
Okay, before we jump into the juicy bits, let's just make sure we know what we're dealing with. Part 1 of the IELTS speaking test is a bit like a warm-up. You're stretching, you're doing a bit of yoga, maybe. The examiner will ask you questions about your life, your opinions, and your experiences, all on familiar topics. Think hobbies, your job or studies, your hometown, that sort of thing. And it lasts for about 4 to 5 minutes. And the goal is to sound natural, confident, and coherent. So let's go through a few typical questions and I'll give you natural answers. And more importantly, I'll explain why those answers work well. Okay, so the first question I'm going to focus on is, what do you like to do in your free time? What do you like to do in your free time? Okay, and I might say, when I've got a bit of downtime, I really enjoy going for a cycle around the park or heading out to a cafe with a good book. It helps me switch off and unwind. But if the weather's miserable, which, let's face it, it often is in the UK, then I'll usually pop something on Netflix and chill out at home. So, why does that one work? Well, it has a nice mix of indoor and outdoor activities. It uses phrasal verbs like switch off and chill out. And there's some more natural expressions like a bit of downtime. And I think I said pop something on. Yeah, pop something on Netflix. So a bit of downtime, pop something on. I also use the phrasal verbs switch off and chill out. And as I said, it's a nice mixture of activities. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Have your hobbies changed since you were a child? And I might say, oh, for sure, yeah. As a kid, I was obsessed with building Lego and collecting football stickers. I had binders and binders full of these football stickers. But now I guess my hobbies are a bit more mature. Yeah, I'm into photography, and I've also recently started dabbling in playing the piano, which is really fun. But let's just say it's a bit of a work in progress. Okay, so why was that answer strong, in my opinion? There's a strong contrast between the past and the present. The use of as a kid, I was blah, 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 and but now I'm blah, blah, blah. Those statements clearly show how my hobbies have evolved over time, fulfilling the question's intention. There's some natural expressions in there as well. Phrases like a bit more mature, dabbling in. What else did I say? A bit of a work in progress. So I'm trying to develop it. I know that it's not perfect yet. It's a bit of a work in progress. And then, all of those sounded relaxed and idiomatic and not too forced. You don't want to try to cram as many of these idioms in there at once. Just sprinkle them into your answers like that one. So that's quite a good way to approach the part one questions. But there was also some fluent conversational style in that, like oh for sure or oh for sure, and then the humorous comment, let's just say. So I said, let's just say it's a bit of a work in progress. Let's just say. So that helps create a friendly, confident tone, something that I would say IELTS examiners would acknowledge. And then lastly, it's detailed and personal, mentioning specific childhood memories, Lego and football stickers, and then giving a realistic view of your current interests makes the answer feel genuine and relatable. So yes, that is why I think it was a good answer. So we're going to move on to question 3 now. Is it important to have a hobby? Is it important to have a hobby? And I might say, oh, definitely. Yeah, I think having a hobby or multiple hobbies gives you something to look forward to outside of work or your studies. And it keeps you balanced. Otherwise, life can feel a little bit samey, can't it? Hobbies give us a chance to relax, be creative, or just escape from all the everyday stress. Even something simple like gardening or baking can work wonders for your mental health. Okay, so why do I think that one was good? Well, I started strong by making my opinion known straight away. And then I followed it up with a reasonable conclusion as to why I think that. I used some conversational language, like a bit samey, and work wonders. Yeah, work wonders, to be very good, to work well. So baking can do very well, do very nice things for your mental health, can help, basically. It can help really well. Baking can help your mental health. Let's just say it really helps. Yes, it can work wonders. What else? I'd say it shows depth of thought. It's more than just surface level. It's more than just like, yeah, hobbies are good. I like running. Yeah. It's thinking about why hobbies are good and explaining my reasoning behind it that relates to sort of overall happiness. And you may have noticed that I actually repeated a few words, a few non-content words. And I think that is quite natural in spoken English. So don't feel like you can't do that. It's not going to get you any more marks, I don't think, but it definitely felt more natural for me to say a few of the prepositions or linking words a couple of times. Let me just have a little think about why I did that. So I said, definitely. I think having I might have said that. Either way, if I didn't, it's still possible to say that. So I said, definitely. I think having a hobby. So you see how I said, I think having a hobby, those little sort of duplications of the beginning of the sentence perhaps is something that natives do because we're trying to actually think. And so we say it once we've actually come to the conclusion. You know you're going to think something, but you need a split second longer to figure out what the sentence is going to be. So yeah, don't be afraid to do that kind of thing, but make sure it's not overly used. Okay, let's go on to the final question for today's episode.
So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
Llegaron los nuevos McCrispy Strips, listos para aventurarse en la mezcla de mayo ketchup, la barbecue que quedó en el fondo de la cajita, hot fudge sundae y en la nueva creamy chili McCrispy Strip dip. Los nuevos McCrispy Strips, ahora en McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Number 4, before I get into the key takeaways from this one. So the fourth question, do you prefer to do hobbies alone or with other people? And I could say, it really depends on the hobby. If I'm going for a cycle or just reading, I quite enjoy doing that on my own. But when it comes to things like playing football or going to the cinema, it's always better with mates. So I'd say it's a mix of both. I think it's nice to have a bit of flexibility, really. Okay, that one I reckon worked well because it was not just a yes or no. And I, again, gave my reasons. And I used a natural conditional, like it depends on whatever the thing is. And mixed in a few natural phrases like with your mates or a mix of both, or even when it comes to doing something like, so, but when it comes to doing things like playing football, blah, 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 rather than, but when I do this, but when it comes to things like playing football, yeah. So that kind of phrasing would get me some good marks. And there we go. So those are the 4 questions that I wanted to focus on today. And now we're going to go into the key takeaways from this episode. So if you want to do well in part 1 of the IELTS speaking test, I'd say you should remember a few of these things. Use natural everyday expressions. It makes a huge difference. And don't overthink it. Don't overthink like that they're trying to catch you out. The topics in part 1 are meant to be easy. So just speak as if you're, and I know it's easier to say this than do it, but just think as if you're speaking to a friend. Like you've just sat down for a coffee or a tea or whatever poison you like to choose, beverage, whatever, alcohol, if you're into that, have a pint next to your mate. Imagine you're just sitting down and chatting with them and you're trying to get to that level of comfort in part 1. Part 2 and 3 are a bit different because I wouldn't really sit down and speak to a friend in the way that part 2 is structured because it's quite it's quite, as I said, structured and formal. And it's like trying to really answer a question in a way that almost, an examiner, exactly that. An examiner is looking for you hitting these bullet points. And that's not natural in a pub, is it? Your mate wouldn't say, I think you missed explaining this part of the story, Charlie. So part 1, super chill. And then try to give some specific examples from your life because they make your answers more personal and believable. And I'd say just easier for you to actually speak with more fluency rather than if you're trying to, I don't know if you would make things up in part 1, but if you were to try and make things up, you'd have to use your imagination and then think of some vocabulary around it. So speak from the heart in part 1. And then if you can, I'm not saying that you don't have a personality. I'm saying that in English, it might be hard at the level, I don't know your level yet, but try to show a bit of personality. If you can implement a little bit of humor, a quirky detail of yourself or a short or mini anecdote, that would go a long way. And then lastly, I'd say practice saying your answers out loud. Record yourself, listen back and go again because you need to be active. Listening to this is not going to make you good at speaking and improving your score. This is good for onboarding the information, but you actually need to take action and start speaking aloud. I think of this with some hobbies that I watch on TV. I hear the commentators talking about the people, the way the sport is executed. And then when I go to actually speak to friends about it, which is very rare, I just get completely tongue-tied because I haven't actually practiced speaking what I'm hearing. So really do try to find a way to get active with what you're onboarding into your brain. I do have a course on this that helps you. So check that out if you want, thebritishenglishpodcast.com/IELTS, or find the link in the show notes. But if you want to also get your hands on some real idioms that IELTS examiners absolutely love, I've got a free ebook and audiobook combo for you. It's packed with easy to use expressions that will level up your speaking score instantaneously. This is the exact resource that helped one of my students go from a 6.5 to an 8 in their speaking exam. And yes, you can listen to it on the go or read along at your own pace. So find that link in the show notes, or again, head to thebritishenglishpodcast.com/IELTS, and then there will be a pop-up that shows you your free gift. Okay, thank you for listening. I've been your host, Charlie, on the British English Podcast. Have a lovely week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.